Welcome back to Tears for Fears. I'm your host, Megan Shoup. You can follow me on Twitter at Megs08DFS. And I can't believe there are only 2 weeks left of playoffs and 2 tier slates. That makes me really sad because I've had so much fun doing this. That's right. This week we've got a 2-day, 4-game, 6-tier slate. And we're going to do what we always do and go tier by tier and find our core plays. But before we do, be sure to like this episode, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, and of course, check out our sponsors at Run the Sims. Now remember, on this short slate with just 6 tiers, you can get creative. Don't be afraid to team stack, game stack, onslaught. Get weird because it's the playoffs and anything can happen. So let's jump right in. In Tier 1, we have 4 of the 8 quarterbacks on the slate with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. Now, most people are going to gravitate to Allen and Mahomes in the highest total on the slate, and I'm right there with them. I try not to get too cute in Tier 1, and I just go with who I think is going to score the most. But I will take a couple shots with Brady and Rodgers because you're going to get a huge ownership discount. But again, I'm playing mostly Allen and Mahomes, and let's take a look at Josh Allen's floor-ceiling combo. It's crazy. Even in games where he's not super successful or efficient, he has a safe floor. And then the games where it's really competitive, like the Chiefs earlier in the year, Tennessee, the Buccaneers, he's really hitting that ceiling. So that makes Josh Allen my favorite play for Tier 1. Now in Tier 2, we have the fantasy studs with Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Davante Adams, and Deebo Samuel. And that's right, it looks like King Henry will be back. So the question is, how much workload are they going to give him? I think you'll get an ownership discount there. So I want some shots with Derrick Henry, and I'm going to play Derrick Henry. I'm going to play a little bit Deebo Samuel, but he's the one in this tier that makes me the most nervous. I'm really going to have the most of Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams. I mean, come on, they both have an awesome floor ceiling combo. But I'm going to take the ownership discount and go Davante Adams in this tier. Why? Because with the Rams, they are trying to run the ball a little bit more. OBJ is getting a little bit more targets. So, I really think they're going to lean into Davante Adams in that freezing cold game, and he is going to be my play for Tier 2. In Tier 3, we have Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, and Aaron Jones. And obviously, we're taking on a little more risk here. These guys are a little more boom bust. I actually feel the safest with Jamar Chase and Mike Evans. I'm going to have the most exposure to those two guys. And actually, Chase is my favorite play because in the last 3 full games he's played, he's had 10 or more targets, and he has a great matchup against the Titans secondary. So Jamar Chase is my Tier 3 play. In Tier 4, we have Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, Eli Mitchell, and A.J. Brown. Now, in this tier, I really like the receivers, and that includes Kelce, over the running backs. The running backs, in Mixon's case, has a really difficult matchup, so he's going to have to get there on green zone touches over efficiency. And Mitchell, I just don't think the game script's going to go his way, and he gets nothing really in the passing game. So I really love Kelce, Diggs, and A.J. Brown. And I'm really gravitating the most towards Kelce and Diggs in, again, that highest total game on the slate. I'm going to have a lot of both of them, but I'm actually leaning Travis Kelce. Even though Josh Allen's my quarterback, and I will do some lineups with Allen and Diggs, but Allen does really spread it around. So I'm getting exposure to that game still and going Travis Kelce in Tier 4. In Tier 5, we have T. Higgins, Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, Odell Beckham Jr., and Cam Akers. Now in this tier, we got some volatile guys with Kittle, Higgins. Knox is obviously a little more touchdown dependent. That's not to say I won't take some shots with those guys. I will, though I'm pretty scarred from playing T. Higgins last week, but I will take shots with those guys. I'm going to take a few more shots with guys like OBJ and Akers. I think they looked awesome on Monday night. And Cam Akers, they're ramping him up. I think it's going to be more of like a 70-30 split in my opinion. And he looked explosive. And I think he had a couple passes called back. He got 2 targets. I think they're going to use him in the passing game too. So I think that could be, Cam Akers is like my sneaky low-owned play. But the guys I feel safest with are Rob Gronkowski and Devin Singletary. They have the best floor ceiling combo to me. So I went over to Run the Sims and the rangefinder tool. And as you can see, Devin Singletary does have a little higher win rate. So Devin Singletary is my Tier 5 play. In Tier 6, we have Tyler Boyd, A.J. Dillon, Brandon Ayuk, Alan Lazard, Sony Michel, Julio Jones, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Gio Bernard. And in this tier, I do not have any interest in Michel, as I mentioned. I think Akers is going to get more of the workload. MVS is doubtful. And with the Buccaneers, they have a very crowded running back room right now. So unless Gio Bernard ends up to be the last man standing, I do not have interest in him. So that leaves Boyd, Dillon, Ayuk, Lazard, and Julio Jones as my core plays in this tier. I think for lower ownership, you could look to the Packers with Dillon and Lazard with MVS out. And Dillon, again, I like the Packers a lot in this game. I think they could be up by a touchdown or two in the fourth quarter, so maybe they're running Dillon. So those two are interesting, and I think you could get at lower ownership. Obviously, you could be playing from behind, so you could just get garbage time there. But my favorite plays here are Boyd and Julio Jones. So I went over to run the Sims and the rangefinder tool, and as you can see, Tyler Boyd has a slightly higher win rate. So as I mentioned with Chase, he has also a great matchup against Tennessee, and especially against slot receivers. He has an awesome matchup against the Titans. So Tyler Boyd is my Tier 6 play. That'll do it for this week's Tiers for Fears. What do you guys think of my lineup? Please let me know in the comments section. Also, let me know who your favorite play in Tier 4 between Kelsey and Diggs in that high total game is. That one's tough. Now, before we get out of here, be sure to like this episode, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, check out Run the Sims. As you can see, they help me make my tiers decisions, and they can for you too. And then, after you do all that, go over to fanspeak.com, check out my tiers simulator. It's got these core plays plugged in, so it can give you some good lineup suggestions. Now, with that, let's go make some money, and I'll see you back here next week.